Before esports was a billion-dollar industry, before the words were ever spoken, and before North America was a joke in every single game. One man named Stewart Brand offered free beer to college students, and thus, esports was born. But at the time in 1972, Brand was not known as the father of esports. He was actually a world-famous writer, known for writing the Whole Earth catalog,
which was one of the Bibles of my generation. It was sort of like Google in paperback form 35 years before Google came along.
This thing had everything. Want to move into the woods with your homies? Need some advice on drug busts? Or maybe you got crabs and you don't know what to do. The catalog has you covered. After the last Whole Earth catalog, Brand decided to chill out and work for the Rolling Stone. At the time, computers were seen by the counterculture as super lame and businessy, but Brand always knew they had a ton of potential to be really cool. He would always visit Xerox PARC, known for creating a laundry list of things, but at the time, they were kind of just focusing on copying machines. But one visit in 1972, he saw something that was going to completely turn the tides of computing.
What am I trying to get?
The other guy.
Oh, the other guy.
This is Spacewar, and everyone at Xerox was playing it. It was programmed 11 years before the first Pong cabinet was installed. It all began when MIT programmer Steve Russell got his hands on the PDP-1, the first computer with a monitor, and he thought to himself,
gee, you could probably write a spaceship trainer for it. So somebody ought to write something to train people how to fly a spaceship. And they could do it on this computer. It would be fun.
And that's exactly what he did. Even though the game is 10 years older than Pong, it outclasses it in every single category. The gameplay is simple. You're a spaceship trying to blow up another spaceship, but there is a star in the middle with gravitational pull that if you touch it, you explode. The controls were super simple. You had a button to move forward, left, right, and then shoot. But despite the simple controls, the game was still very complex. If the game looks or sounds familiar, that's because the people over at Atari took the idea, slapped some flying rocks in there to make asteroids, a cultural phenomenon of the 80s that I'm sure everyone has seen. But that's a video for another day. Back to Spacewar. By 1972, every single high-tech research lab in the country was playing Spacewar. But these nerds weren't just playing the game, they were absolutely no-lifing it.
Reliably, at any nighttime moment in North America, hundreds of computer technicians are effectively out of their bodies, locked in life-or-death space combat for hours at a time.
Stewart Brand saw what was happening with computers. Computers were considered like really business guy and really like buttoned down and stuff. And he wanted to kind of report back to the counterculture and the hippies and the progressives, like, no, computers are a big deal and they're gonna like change culture.
Stewart Brand knew Spacewar was the perfect thing to change their mind. So he decided to go back to his alma mater and host the Intergalactic Spacewar Olympics. And this would be the primordial ooze of video game competition. After seeing that there would be free beer at the event, a ton of nerds piled in to play Spacewar. They would play the tournament on the PDP-10, not to be confused with the PDP-1, the computer that Spacewar was originally programmed for. No, the PDP-10 had an insane 1 megabyte of RAM. Even though most computers nowadays have 8,000 times that amount, it was absolutely insane for the time. So insane that Stanford was willing to cough up $500,000, which adjusted for inflation nowadays is $4.3 million. But this cutting edge technology allowed programmers to go absolutely wild with Spacewar. Instead of just having the 1v1 game mode, they also had a 2v2 game mode and also a 1 versus 1 versus 1 versus 1 versus 1 game mode. They had 5 people simultaneously playing at once. It's crazy because it took Nintendo until 2012 with the Wii U to do that. Stewart Brand was used to these counterculture killers. He said these computer nerds were like frenzied buzzing bees in a 15-ring circus, making the tournament super intense. It was 4 hours of non-stop gaming. Stewart said this was the most exciting environment he'd been in since the Merry Prankster acid test, which was an insane series of parties in California that actually got the drug LSD banned. But in a game with depth and skill expression, the better player always wins. And Spacewar is no exception. These are the players that put the most blood, sweat, and tears into the game. And actually, the winner of the most prestigious category just did an interview talking about the tournament.
In terms of practice, I guess I was in an extremely good position because I was just too good at it. And I was playing the buttons backwards, so to play a handicap, so I could play other people who were just beginning. And the person who was actually a challenge went to folk dancing that night.
Oh, man.
This guy by day was designing robots, but every single night after work, he would go in and grind Spacewar. And all those guys went home with a year subscription to Rolling Stone. But more importantly, they were our first esports champions. And on December 7th, 1972, Stewart Brand published his 9,000-word masterpiece. It was lazily slapped in between a story about Carlos Santana and an advertisement for the Connoisseur's Handbook of Marijuana. And you might have been able to guess this, but at the end of the article, there's a guide on how to get your hands on the $500,000 PDP-10, and also the entire code of a Spacewar. It's a shame that this tournament is often overlooked, because it was the true beginning of esports. It also highlights what makes the scene so great. You don't need to be in a gigantic venue with tens of thousands of people watching to get the high of competition. Just last week I was at my local bar tournament for Smash Melee, and I beat someone that I'd never beaten before. I was so overcome with emotion, I popped off and jumped out of my chair. It's also just a great way to get out of the house and make some friends. Literally all of my friends are from my local Smash scene. However, this next story is about the exact opposite. A tournament with possibly the most amount of entrants in history, but no one seems to know about it.